Oh man. Oh man.
There's a lot going on.
The Knicks only just got bounced this past Friday, and it feels like so much has gone on since then. I went from being sad and, in my feelings about what's going to happen next and not caring about basketball to now we're going to have a conversation about who our next head coach is going to be. You saw in my emergency upload yesterday or all over social media, or if you still watch those channels like ESPN and those channels, Tom Thibodeau got the boot. The New York Knicks moved on from Tom Thibodeau, and now there is conversations all over the place on who should be our next coach, why Tibbs got fired, everything that we are going to talk about in this video. We also got some rumors about Rick Brunson, Papa Brunson, not having many fans on the current Knicks roster. So a lot to digest, a lot to talk about. We're going to get into all of that. We're going deeper into the conversations of the coaching carousel. Let's get it, y'all. Run the intro. What's going on, CK Crew? It's your boy CK2K, and welcome back to another video. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. Don't forget to like this video. Guys, I'm gonna let you know right now, as of me making this video, there is a huge possibility that we will have our brand new head coach at any time, any point of this day that this video is live. So the minute that happens, there will be another upload, or it will be uploaded whenever that happens. So I just want it to be known that this is recorded before any kind of news.
I'm Mr. Play It Safe.
Not saying I'm anticipating anything, but we did get the word that the Phoenix Suns have made their choice. They were deciding to go with Coach Ott instead of going with Coach Johnnie, Bryant. Both of them assistant coaches from the Cleveland Cavaliers last season, and they were the finalists to see who was going to be the next coach of the Phoenix Suns, and they went with Coach Ott. How do you say his name?
Ott.
Coach Ott. Odd name, but yeah, he just got the job in Phoenix, so that means Johnnie Bryant is available. You already know how I feel about Johnnie Bryant. We will talk more about Johnnie Bryant later, because firstly, I want to talk about Tom Thibodeau, the head coach that helped lead these New York Knicks for the past 5 seasons to some of the best basketball that we have seen in decades. Before Tom Thibodeau picked up the reins to the New York Knicks, the Knicks have not really known much about winning outside of the few years led by Mike Woodson and the Carmelo Anthony regime and all that. But it's been a great 5 years. I mean, we've improved every single season with Tom Thibodeau. Obviously, there were a lot of things in between that had a lot of us scratching our heads and pulling our hair out, myself included, which is why a lot of us believe that last season, if not this season, which we got this season, but last season was the year that we probably should have moved on from Tom Thibodeau. And in that year, we got about 50 plus wins, got to the Eastern Conference Finals. But it's crazy because even in that time, there was still so much going on that Knicks fans couldn't wholeheartedly be all in on the excitement. Yes, the last few weeks, the last month and some change, we did come together and believe and hope that the Knicks could have done something that hasn't been done in years, and that is winning an NBA final. But what we did do was something that wasn't done in decades as well, and that is get to the Eastern Conference Finals. But it just felt like there was so much turmoil that happened in this year alone. We were going on winning streaks, and I felt like we were doing a lot more complaining about a lot of things. Players being benched when they shouldn't be benched. Lack of development on this team. And we were continuously making great draft picks later on in the draft that we are getting talent that just are not getting any player, not getting any look at. Guys playing too many minutes that shouldn't be playing many minutes. So much so that it came to our newcomer, Mikal Bridges, coming to the team and having to speak up about it. All the above that has gone on throughout this season for the New York Knicks, even with the wins and even with the long run in the playoffs. It just felt like something was off with this team all year long. And eventually we heard the news, or Wednesday, June 3rd, that Tom Thibodeau would eventually be fired. And with the firing, we are getting reports from Ian Begley and a lot of beat writers, a lot of people that are very close to New York Knicks. Shout out to CP as well. A lot of reports coming out on the reasoning why Tom Thibodeau ultimately got the boot. Leon Rose making it clear that he wants winning. He wants to go forward. Getting to the Eastern Conference Finals was great, but to have that opportunity and then to deal with it the way that we did, losing game 1 the way we did, losing game 2 we did, a lot of those things Leon Rose definitely still kept into play. And I feel like ultimately losing to the Indiana Pacers in a series that we definitely should have at least put up more of a fight in, a lot of that self-inflicted, Leon Rose ultimately decided to go away from Tom Thibodeau as the Knicks head coach. But we also heard word too that there was rumblings from within the New York Knicks that the players didn't ultimately know their roles.
What we have learned in the aftermath of this, like Ian Begley had shared, there was an exit meeting and evaluation period after the season. And what sources are telling KFTV is that a majority of the players, the main theme as it related to the coach was that players did not know their role. Roles were not clarified on this team. That was the main theme.
It's funny because that's something that it felt like as fans, we could see that looking at the team. We could see that this team looked like they just didn't know who was supposed to do what. And I think that that is a huge, huge negative if you're coaching a team at this stature, a team at this level that's trying to go all the way. But yeah, those are two big reasons, man. From, Leon Rose looking to go to the next step, saying that he thinks the team needs a new voice, and from the players themselves speaking out and saying that they didn't know what their roles were. I mean, we talked about the Mikal Bridges quote about, the minutes and going to the bench and going to other players. Remember, that was a big talking point in the middle of the season. But also right before the firing, Deuce McBride, immediately after the elimination, Deuce McBride said this.
Is it too soon to kind of put that into perspective?
Yeah, definitely. We didn't have any plans, so obviously losing this game, we felt really confident coming in. But overall as a season, like I said, it felt like a lot of stuff throughout the year just got exposed now.
So there was obviously some sort of discourse within the team, between the players. It was also reported that the Knicks team had a bunch of different player meetings throughout the season, which we didn't hear anything about on the outside of things, which is also really concerning. But to have so many of them and then not much really being changed, that's an interesting dynamic. A lot of things pointed around Tom Thibodeau ultimately having to be the one to go. I say all that, but I also need to make sure that I add that, getting rid of Tom Thibodeau, it's not an easy thing to do. As much as I've wanted Tom Thibodeau gone, as much as I am a part of the crowd that we were #fire Tibbs, we cannot move on without saying thank you to Tom Thibodeau. What we were watching for so many years, it has been such a rough place. It has been a team where you see the New York Knicks and synonymous with losing. You know what I mean? We just were not a good team. It was a bunch of dumb decisions in the front office and a bunch of dumb decisions when it came to coaching. And Tom Thibodeau brought a culture to this basketball team, brought winning to this basketball team, brought what it meant to have a solid basketball team in New York again. And, just because we wanted him gone, it's not because, we were ungrateful for that. I think it's more so that we know that this team now has reached a certain level and we need more from it. And I think it's more than what Tom Thibodeau is willing to give. I mean, let's face it, Tom Thibodeau, an old school head coach. You see the way that he runs things. You see the way that he looks at the defense. It is very old school in the way that he moves things. I don't think this is the end of Tom Thibodeau as a coach. I think he's going to definitely pull like a Jeff Van Gundy. He's going to be a vital assistant coach somewhere else still. I think he's going to, a lesser role, but still being a big voice for a basketball team somewhere, or maybe a front office role. One of the two I definitely still believe is in his cards in the future. But for this New York Knicks team, for where we're at, getting a guy like Jalen Brunson, outside of Brunson, I don't know who is entirely going to be here. When you got a guy like Jalen Brunson, who is a once-in-a-lifetime type of talent, a superstar-level point guard, MVP-level point guard, you want to make sure you have all the right pieces to push this team to the next level, which now brings me to the next part of this video, and that is the possible replacements for Tom Thibodeau. Now, with Tom Thibodeau being fired, the Knicks now are looking to figure out who their next coach is going to be. And I'm going to say this. I know I mentioned at the beginning there's a possibility that the head coach could be brought in today. And again, I'm not saying that he will be, but I'm just letting you know that there's a possibility that any day now that we could be hearing who our new head coach is. I'm going to be honest with you. Outside of that little Phoenix Suns scare with Johnnie Bryant, I think the New York Knicks, even though I know who I want it to be, I need the New York Knicks to make sure they take their time and make the right decision and best decision for this basketball team going forward. What I mean by that is Bring in the guy that makes the most sense for not just this New York Knicks team that is right in front of you, not just that New York Knicks team that is planning to possibly be in front of you at training camp, buying, you know, whatever trades happen or whatever draft picks happen in the future. You need to make sure that the guy that picks up the clipboard for this basketball team now is a guy that we can run with going forward. Because if you're going to dump a guy like Tom Thibodeau after 5 years of coaching and being steadily better each and every year, the next guy needs to be the guy for the long term, the guy that's going to run this ship for as long as can be, as we are making that quest to getting a championship here sooner rather than later. So I say that to say this: if you want my honest opinion and you want, you know, journalism hat off and CK the fan hat on, I want a young NBA coach that understands basketball in 2025. I want somebody that has been a part of any of these really successful basketball trees around the world. Now, if you want to talk to me about experience, to talk to me about guys that are going to take us over, look, man, in my humble opinion, peace and love, I feel like experience in the NBA today, it's not just because you are older and you've head coached a lot of teams in your time. I don't feel like that's what experience is in the NBA here today as a head coach. Look at some of the more successful coaches that are running teams right now. Mark Dalvinholt, I can't even say his name. This is the head coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Nobody knew who he was. Nobody knew who he was. One of the youngest coaches in the NBA, and literally from the moment he got the job till now, there has been constant progress with a team in a small market where they built their own guys and built it to what it is today. Great example right there. Ime Udoka, who is technically a younger coach in basketball terms, because coming out of being an assistant coach everywhere he's been. I mean, remember him probably more predominantly being an assistant coach for the San Antonio Spurs. Obviously, we know him as a player, but you know, Ime Udoka has been an assistant coach for a long time. He got the reins for Boston, instant success. We obviously know about his situation. Goes to Houston, a team that was looking like a lottery team on its way up, and instantly turns them into the best team in the Western Conference. Obviously, they had their holes, but Ime Udoka doing a great job. And if you want to stay with Ime Udoka, let's talk about Joe Mazzulla, a guy that, again, nobody had heard of, gets this role. People are thinking that now with the whole Ime Udoka situation figured out, that they're going to look and find somebody else and not going to keep going. No, they stuck with this Joe Mazzulla guy, and he's doing a pretty solid job. Not saying I need a guy that's going to, you know, only live and die by the three, not saying that, but understands the analytics side of basketball and hoops in today's game, moving in the fast break, defense, where it's key, who plays where, playing the depth of your roster. We need that kind of a coach. JJ Redick in his first year doing a good job. I can go on and on about other young coaches that came into their job and had done great stuff in the first few years. And I know there's names I'm missing, but the point of the matter is I feel like in today's NBA, age doesn't really matter about when it comes to experience. I don't feel like you have to be aged or coached a lot of jobs to be experienced. If you have been a coach, an assistant coach, or a part of one of these very successful coaching trees, I definitely believe that you have just as much experience as anybody who is head coaching a squad. You're around it. You see how the teams are built. You see how they practice. You see all those kind of things. And that's why I'm saying all that to say that that's why my list, my top 5 of all the names that we've seen, I could throw the names up right now that Vegas is saying that we're looking at. In the top 3, number 1 is obviously Johnnie Bryant. I've said this. I've been a part of the Johnnie Bryant conspiracy for years. And I felt like when they first got Johnnie Bryant as an assistant coach, he was being groomed. He was being set up to be the predecessor of Tom Thibodeau. I don't think that there was much expectation from Tom Thibodeau to go to that next level. There was obviously expectation for Tom Thibodeau to bring wins to this team, to make this team better, to bring a culture, which is everything he did. But also in that process, the Knicks overachieved, underachieved in some instances. I feel like we could have done better, but through injuries and whatever, Tom Thibodeau did a good job as a head coach in that time. For Johnnie Bryant, at the end of Thibodeau's contract, for Johnnie Bryant to then be the predecessor, be the next upcoming, you understand how the team works. You understand the culture. You understand what it means to be a head coach, what it means to be a figure in New York. This is your team now. Go ahead and run it. You got your superstar. You got your rotation. You know what you want to do, what you would do different from this team. This team is yours. I thought that was the case. But then they gave Tom Thibodeau that extension, and that led to Johnnie Bryant, a guy who, as long as I've known about Johnnie Bryant, he's gotten numerous calls from other NBA teams to possibly be their head coach in that time, and instead decides to go be an assistant coach somewhere else instead of being with us, which ultimately led me to believe even further that he was set to be the head coach of this team, and he was going somewhere else to hopefully hold out on that. And I think that that is where we're ultimately going to go. I think that's where we ultimately should go. And Coach Johnnie Bryant knows the team, knows what he wants, great communication with players around the league, and more importantly with the guys on our team. He's most known, and this is the reason why he's probably so valuable to a lot of teams across the league, for being so good at development, player development. He's a big part of the development of a lot of players that are really big in the NBA right now, from obviously Donovan Mitchell, Damian Lillard. We can go list on and on with a lot of players that he's been key to. You saw him help transform RJ Barrett in those last few seasons right before he got traded off. We know about his relationship with him and Jalen Brunson. So there's a lot of positive in what I feel like Johnnie Bryant can bring to this team. I also would hope that Johnnie Bryant can then also bring his own staff on board to get some more veteran presence next to him and stuff like that. To me, I feel like it's a foregone conclusion that Johnnie Bryant should be the guy, especially with what happened to Phoenix. Bring Johnnie Bryant to the Knicks. That's my number one answer. But to play along, if I were to talk about my top 5 outside of Johnnie Bryant, number 1. Number 2 is Ime Udoka. I talked about him earlier. That Ian Begley said that there is a possibility that the Knicks could try and pursue him, even though he's a part of the Houston Rockets and their great run. There's a possibility that the New York Knicks could do a trade or could do some kind of maneuver cash-wise to get Ime Udoka to come over here. Now, I'm gonna be completely honest. I have him high on my list because if it's possible, I would love to have him as my head coach, but I don't entirely believe that there is a way that we get Ime Udoka to coach our New York Knicks.
You gotta believe. Got to.
Number 3, Memphis Grizzlies old head coach, Taylor Jenkins. I'm a fan of Taylor Jenkins. A lot of people I feel like are up and down on Taylor Jenkins. I think what I remember the most from Taylor Jenkins is what he did to the Memphis Grizzlies when he first got that head coaching job with Memphis. But I feel like a lot of personalities and a lot of outside noise started to take over, where they lost what the magic was about that team. I know that there was that rumor that the assistant coach that ended up being the head coach, I don't remember his name, is the real magician behind everything that happened with Memphis. But even with him running the squad, you really saw that it was about the same kind of energy. Really interested to see what they look like next year. But Taylor Jenkins, man, I got my eye on Taylor Jenkins. I feel like we got a kind of team that is, could run the way that he would run. I think he's a solid coach when it comes to using your depth. I feel like he's really good at utilizing his roster, developing as well. So I personally, call me crazy, but I would take Taylor Jenkins on this team as well. He's my number 3rd option. So I don't know how interested the Knicks really are in Dan Hurley. I'm not really hearing too much from people who know what's going on within the organization. So I'm not really taking the Dan Hurley stuff serious. I think that's more of a fan want, a lot like the Mark Jacksons and the Jeff Van Gundy's. Those are more fan wants than what I think are actual possibilities. Like I said, all I care about is the top 3. My top 3, Johnnie Bryant, number 2, Ime Udoka, asterisk, and number 3, Taylor Jenkins. Those are really the only 3 options I care for. As long as we bring in somebody that's going to modernize our New York Knicks squad, going to help us play in transition a lot better, help us lock down on defense, help us find ways to, hide Karl-Anthony Towns defensively, learn how to implement a type of offense where on any given night we can see OG Anunoby consistently have good offensive nights, Mikal Bridges, Towns, hell, even Deuce off the bench. That's all I really care about. I just want somebody that can put some sauce on this team, and those top 3 guys are the guys I'm looking at. But we'll see what the Knicks are looking for, and I'm curious, what are your names? What names are you looking for the New York Knicks to bring on as our new head coach? Let me know in the comment section below. And last but not least, before I send y'all out of here, we do have a few rumors circling around a current assistant coach for the New York Knicks, and that is the pops of our superstar Jalen Brunson, Rick Brunson.
Which is crazy. I didn't even do anything.
Yeah, there are rumors going around right now that Rick Brunson does not have many fans in the current Knicks roster. Now, again, this one I'm taking with a grain of salt because of who it's coming from, where the sources are. But like I said, I'm going to report and talk about what is out there and leave them out for you to decide what you want to believe from what you don't want to believe. Now, this rumor is predominantly coming from Hoopswire, so take that as you will. And the line that really had me doing one of these was the second line, talking about that players have been unhappy with the presence of assistant coach Rick Brunson. I also said what that issue is exactly has not been determined. According to Brian Geltzier of SiriusXM NBA Radio, he said some Knicks players' unease with Rick's presence on the sideline was also reported. So there's nothing else outside of just that. I feel like it's just a Knicks for Click article. I do believe that there's probably some kind of feel towards Rick Brunson, but do they hate him? I don't know if that's necessarily true. Not really sure what to believe from this, but I wanted to report it there for you. There's a whole article on Hoopswire about it, but there's not really much to say other than what we talked about here. What are your thoughts about it? Do you believe that there is some beef there for Rick Brunson? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts about everything mentioned in the comment section below. But yeah, what says you, man? Tom Thibodeau out as head coach. You mad, upset, or happy about that? I gave you my top 3-ish of who I would like to see our next head coach be. Like I said, the Knicks right now are interested in guys like Ime Udoka, Jason Kidd, and also they're very high on Johnnie Bryant in the front office. So who do you have as your favorite to be the next head coach for the Knicks? And also Rick Brunson. Thoughts on that whole thing? If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget, guys, we'll be uploading every Tuesday and Thursday throughout this off season. So buckle up. But I'm gonna see you guys in the next video. Let's get it.